Welcome back to the channel. This is Sifu David Akrish with Black Dragon Modern Combat, where tradition becomes the evolution of close quarter combat. Anyways, I thought I'd take a break from the Mokjong, and I think maybe tomorrow I'll do number 10, which I've kind of switched off. I'm switched back. I'm going to do it in actually two different pieces. So it'll be on the misnomer of calling something sticky, but I'm still going to call it that. I'll be talking about that in a Chi Sao video, because it's Chi Sao, not sticky Sao, sticky hands, which everybody calls it. I know, that'll get an uproar someday. Anyways, I hope. But, and then the other side of it is I wanted to, part two of tomorrow's video will be, which is number 10 of the 20 key principles of Mokjong, will be on ambidextrous training, and what I call mirror training, so both sides. So anyways, how important that is, especially training your weaker side, which most people is their left side. So that'd be kind of fun. But today's really a video that I, or I should say a subject that I was supposed to be the first video I ever have done. When I first had the idea, when my wife, I keep bringing up my wife, but she is the one who told me to, supported me in doing this. So she's actually, we're pretty busy for the next few weeks, but she's going to help me in demonstrating applications, some applications of what I'm presenting here. But so this is the first video that kind of really has been rolling around these ideas on this one, which is, the name of it is there school martial or is it just art? And so the title itself should kind of be self-explanatory, but it's really about, I would say, the beginning of this channel and what it's about, which I keep bringing up, is bringing up ideas, and I'm not sure other people are doing this or not, maybe not so much, but having you do your own self-exploration, or looking at what are you doing, why are you doing it, what are you looking for, are you telling yourself you're getting something when you're really not, are you getting all the pieces that you want in your self-defense or martial art, which I don't like that term, but I have to use it because most people are connected to, in a sense. What martial art do you take? I'm into martial arts, and so I have my own thoughts on that, but it's one of my kind of click word things I use, but I don't use in my mind or in my heart. Another one is fighting, stick fighting, knife fighting. The word fighting is, see, words are powerful, and if you're saying one thing, then it alludes into other cascading ideas within your mind. And so you think fighting, it's not really fighting. If someone's pulling a knife, I don't care who they are, and it's knife killing. And so, because it's meant to kill. And so either we're afraid to say kill, or you're just used to saying what everybody else says, but it's not fighting. So fighting is a bit different than combat or killing, and so it will change if you don't use that thought or that tone or that word. It's going to change how you feel on the inside, and this is exactly what I'm talking about here. About what are you doing? Have you really thought about what you want out of a school, out of your training? And I mean, I applaud anybody who's doing any training, because I think a lot of time is put into training that you could, like going to the gym, that you could maybe put some of that aside to actually learn a skill and an ability that it could be very important in your life. And if you've been watching any of my videos, I'm just promoting that. That's all I promote. That's all I believe in. That's my passion. It's not my business at all. It's my passion, and that's why I'm doing this. And maybe it's my internal passion that for myself. But that you're doing something that actually that's training, it's good for you, you're stretching, all that, endurance, sweating, whatever, but you're actually learning something and applying it, and are able to apply it in some way. And so, but I'm going deeper on this about what are you doing, and are you fooling yourself? You know, like the little stick song, are you fooling yourself? And you do believe it. And so I'm going to kind of go through some questions here. Maybe I'll elaborate on some of them, but and I have my computer here, so that's what I'm looking down at. But why are you taking martial arts? And I've answered some of the questions, and I'm saying health, you're bored, you're doing it for sport, trophy collecting, a lot of people, trophies, it's really important, self-defense, just adding that one, social activity, and that goes with a story that I was going to tell, and losing weight, attaining a belt level, just trying to get in shape. So I'm not saying any of these are right or wrong, I'm just saying, what are you doing? Or why are you doing it? Why are you taking it? So that's one of the first questions I have. Let's see if I can get into my next one. So again, this is about just going inside, or not so far inside, and just thinking about it. What am I doing? Is there a better school? Is there something else? Am I in the best school? Am I getting the, which I haven't gone over, but does my school have the 4 parts that I believe are important? And so maybe after I bring that up as another video, that you might go, well, let me see, I'm getting 1 and 3, but I'm not getting anything else. And so maybe I need to get other things. Maybe I need to buy something for home and get that part of it involved as one of the 4 pillars of what I think is important. And so, and maybe you trust me, you believe me. I hope you do. I'm here for your betterment. That's really that's really what I'm doing here. And this isn't for me. It's for me in a sense, I should say, because I like it, and I realize I like doing this, and I like giving my information that I've accumulated, and I think it's something that I'm supposed to do, so I'm doing it. So anyways, so number 2, in the end, are all martial arts systems the same when it comes to self-defense? Well, you hear a lot of people say, well, my kid has a black belt. Well, what does that even mean? What was entailed in that black belt training? And are you just overconfident and really it's not really preparing the person? And I ranked pretty hard in the poacher video about the person who couldn't even break, who had a black belt. So it tells you in your mind, oh, I got a black belt, and then I'm invincible, and then you can't even break a board, like a little pine board. It's not even an inch. And I wonder if that person, hopefully she's reading or hearing this and going, maybe I do need to think about this. Maybe I do need to go somewhere else. And I'm getting fooled, and I'm fooling myself. There's a pretty potent time. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's in one of my videos about beware of the poacher. The poacher who gives a black belt to a person who can't even break a board that's like 3/4 of an inch pine. That's a problem. And that's a problem in my book. Maybe some other people it's like, fine, good for you, but not me. So I saw a video where this guy was taking different systems, and it goes against everything I believe in, and putting them in just the whole system, just the name of a system, and putting it in these categories. Now, I actually believe that's just to piss you off, and it's clickbait, and just to get clicks, because, or maybe not, but seriously, it was one of the dumbest things I ever watched in my life. And people are smarter than that. I give humans a lot of credit. Now, maybe we don't do smart things sometimes, but we really can discern and look beyond this dumb thing of putting, like one thing was Tai Chi was put over here, and Kempo Karate is over here, and I'm like, what? It was horrible. And so what I have here, hold on one moment, please, is, And I apologize for the breaks. Like I said, I don't edit, so maybe someday, but not today. So I'm just working. Okay, here we go. So, so my question was, in the end, are all martial arts systems the same when it comes to self-defense? And I wrote yes, no. And this is just typical, but it depends on the sensei, the instructor, the Sifu, the guru, or whatever it is, not the system. So he's saying a whole system, and you can take it and just put it in this wedge it into this category of Tai Chi never works. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He doesn't know anything about anything. And I wrote here, I just made it up, but Iron Tai Chi Quan Combat versus what I call the dry gi 45-minute karate belt trophy school. And so, killer karate school or whatever. I'm not ranking on karate or anybody. I could put Kempo in there. I could put Kung Fu. It doesn't matter. I could put Salat, where you don't do anything. It depends on the school and the training and the 4 pillars. And so maybe the Iron Tiger Tai Chi Quan Combat, maybe they have all 4 pieces. And these guys are they're like crazy. They do all the parts, and they're highly skilled. And then maybe the other school that's supposed to be the combat school, the self-defense school and all that, and we claim this and that, and you go in there and you just do nothing. You jump around for 45 minutes, and you're not getting anything out of it. But it's like knockout karate school or knockout Kempo or whatever. Knockout fill in the blank, and it's not at all, and it's kind of BS. Wing Chun, there's so many derivatives and parts of that where people are, they're ranking on it because people are going on that are not trained, and it's obvious. I can see it, and they're getting their butts kicked by the boxing guys or whatever, and they should, because if you don't train we'll say in that boxing sense, what do you think's going to happen? It's not going to come out of the air, and all your moves, or maybe you're just doing stuff in the air and a little bit of this, a little of that, but then reality hits, and so you don't know. But this is, again, I'm not talking about any system. I'm saying that don't pigeonhole a Tai Chi school that could be full contact school. You don't know, and that's dumb to ever predict or say something is something, because you just don't know. Or a Muay Thai school, but which is like Muay Thai, wow, it's kickboxing and this and that and elbows and smashing, but maybe the way that their school, a school does it, really doesn't prepare you, and it's get some of the pieces and you get a good. Maybe it's more about it's an exercise school, and you're throwing kicks and elbows and all that, but you're never training in certain areas that when something actually really happens, maybe the Tai Chi combat, iron fist, whatever, kicks your butt. So, because they do. And if you don't train in certain methodologies and ways, it doesn't just come out of the air. It just doesn't happen. So I'll be doing that video on the 4 pieces. And what I call is when you're doing one thing and then you're not doing the other, I call it the gap. It's the gap in between that's missing. It's missing pieces. You put something together from IKEA, and there's some leftover bolts and wood and stuff, like the funny commercials, and it doesn't work. It falls apart in the baby carriage. So anyways, so number 3, what are you actually learning? Well, all this is kind of the same. What are you actually learning in your school, and why? So is it all katas? And I've complained, whined, and moaned about one of my Charlie Futt schools where we didn't do any extraction from millions of forms and apply it. And once in a blue moon, it was such a, talk about a gap. So all you do is forms, and then in the end, the other end of the spectrum, no gear protection, no talking about of any levels of safety, nothing, and then just let loose on these. One guy was insane. he was absolutely insane. He had no reins on his horse, man. Let me tell you, and it was almost full contact goofballs, and I didn't even understand what we were doing there. That was just, and we lost so many people because of that. There was no instruction, there was no application, there was not even a thought bringing one thing down the line to the other, going to each port and getting what you need to fulfill your journey. And so that was a big problem. And the reason I said that is the very first thing I put is katas or forms. And it was just forms. And it's cool. It would make you very strong and powerful and able, but it's like building a race car and never racing it. It's, I'm going to touch my computer screen. What do you think is going to happen? So, okay, so I'm just stuck on that one, on katas. I guess that's kind of gets me here because I had to figure things out. I had to go, my one Sifu, he was Mr. Application. Why wasn't he running it? He should have come in as Mr. Application and taught all the different ideas. And I actually told the Seeing that, with respect, I said, you know, because he was part of the school, this other Sifu for a little bit, I said his application, and it really pissed this guy off, it was his school, and I'm like, why are you upset? Because you're not doing it, you're losing people. We were pretty close at one point, and because I was gung-ho in that school, and he just poo-pooed it, and I'm like, whatever, you know, what am I going to do? And so it kind of pissed him off, and I'm like, well, you know, I'm paying for this class too. I want it, you know, there should be more to it. Anyway, so that's where all these thoughts come from, is something like that I went through a lot of it. Anyways, second one is methods, philosophies, psychology. So many, now some schools are great and they talk about that, and other people, they're just like, I'm bored, I don't want to hear this, I just want to train. Well, then go do a different school. But I think that none of this ever happened in almost any schools. It's more of my private teachers that we went over these things, philosophy, methods of why, ideas. And this is because these people are my friends. So we spoke like friends, but you know, you're paying for a school. I think you should be getting a certain amount out of it. And I think a lot of schools don't give you this, and maybe some great ones do. And you know, I read one guy, he loves the school, and it sounds like they're doing a really good job of putting all the parts together. So anyways, chokes. So I'm just saying things that, what are you doing? Are you striking? Are you hitting anything? Are you hitting something? My wife always says you got to hit something to feel reality. And I mean, she knows more. Are you working, this is a big one to me, on modern or archaic weapons and forms that are ridiculous? That I watched this full, it was here, talk about two areas. It's a full contact karate school. Really cool. And then they would do these old traditional forms that would, I mean, they were so archaic that I'm like, there was, again, such a wide gap. It would have been better to just throw that part of it out, do the full contact, then bring in a specialist who does like Filipino sticks or something. I mean, be open to it. And that's my thing about evolution. But it was so archaic, I couldn't believe it, and slow and ridiculous, and I don't even know what to say on that one. But the other part of the school was phenomenal. Yeah, so what? Whatever. And trust me, when you watch them spar, it had nothing to do with the katas or the weapons formed or any of that. It was just kickboxing. It was a full-out kickboxing school. So everything was thrown away, and there was no connection from one to the other. So, and what I said is you're just following tradition, whatever. Do you ever hit a pad, a mokchang? So I'm asking you, or much less a human being training with a human being. So in that school, you did train with a human being. They didn't have anything else though. They didn't have any real gear in a sense. but they did go full out with protective gear on, headgear, gloves, and went at it. So there's something to that. So what training equipment are you using or is being offered? So this goes, I just was bringing that up. Are there bags? Is there a wooden dummy? Is there a jiu-jitsu dummy? On and on and on. Is there weights? Is there pads on the wall? Is there a lot of pads or forearm pads or gear for training? Is there weapons that you can use that are more realistic, like training weapons on something? So I'm just asking, maybe you should ask yourself. I don't know, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it matters a whole bunch, and that's what this is about. And in here, so it's funny, I always cover all things jumbled up here, but when you spar, if your school does, I'm reading number 5, does it all look like what you've spent hours, sweat, and money on? Do you even care? Is it just mush? And I just said that. So, and that's what I call almost everything I watch, mush. And the thing about sparring is, the funny thing about martial arts is it was meant, and still is in my book, to be combat for actually lethalness. And so how do you practice that and I'm just asking, the lethalness of what you're doing, or in a sense what you're working on, and then do it as working, or working it through like a sparring session, and where you can't kill somebody, it isn't like the movie or whatever. And I watched a really bad movie last night about, it was called Man of Tai Chi, that was with Keanu Reeves. But maybe somebody liked it, I don't know. I didn't like it at all. But it was about illegal combat killing. And so, killing your opponent in these fights. How do you, I'm getting a little off topic, a little tiny bit, but again, is it mush where it's just, in the end, this is one guy's style, this is another guy's style, but you watch these fights and they all look the same. Now maybe there's a little tiny bit of something here or there, but in the end, and in one fight I watched, I'm calling it a fight because it's not combat and killing, but the one guy was trying to follow his style, and then once he got tired, he just went to his route of dropping his arms and boxing and kicking and throwing these wild, crazy kicks and punches out there, and that's what seems like a lot of things are. So how do you train? Is your school even attempting, how about that, to take these lethal ideas and be able to apply them some way? Like, let's say a leopard paw. Are you actually maybe hitting something so you actually go, oh, I can do it in the air, it looks so cool, chop, and then, but can you actually apply it to some degree, or train to some degree, where it is, you feel somewhat confident that you can actually apply that leopard, what it feels like in striking something in a real life and death situation. And so I like, just to add my 2 cents in here, I like the idea of, it's kind of called like three-part or one-part sparring, where someone is doing something, whatever you want them to be. They become that person, the boxer, the wrestler, the Kempo guy, the karate guy, the Wing Chun guy, the whatever. And so they're that person, and they have gear on, and you are doing what you're doing, what you're spending money on, sweat, time, hours, and you make it apply to whatever is happening against you. And so I was going to tell the story. I'm going to do it right here. This is what I was doing in a Charlie Foot school. And when I broke away, the main school closed down. I kept going, kept trying to run it. Not it, but run my own, keep the ball rolling. But I was like, I'm going to do everything that wasn't done. So I was doing combat Charlie Fight. And so we would always put on gear at the end and apply what the pain feels like a chomkyu and a jong, an uppercut, and make it work in a real life situation instead of just doing forms on and on and on. And so somebody, this is a school in Seattle, and one of the locations, and somebody came from the same system, even though I basically I was still part of it, and so I was listed in their listing, their main listing. So someone came who moved, I don't know, from I think Iowa, or I'm not sure where it was, Nevada, I think. And so she called me and said, "Can I come? We're in the same system." Okay, sure, come. So she shows up, and it was near the end of the night when we're doing an application, and she comes up to me, totally disrespectful, horrible person, and sneers and says, doesn't even say, hi, or Sifu, or let me shake your hand, nothing. Total disrespect. And I thought, well, what are they teaching at their school? And then she's looking, and we're doing application. And I think we're doing like chin against like a boxing, and then like a leopard or a chung jong to the stomach. We were wearing taekwondo, the chest pads, and so mandatory equipment. So I'm constantly into training the combat and applying what you're learning. I practice what I preach. Let me put it that way. So she's looking at it and sneering, and she goes, "What the hell are they doing?" And I said, well, and I just thought, why am I even going to talk to this person? But, I'm a nice person. And I said, well, what do you mean? We're doing application. And she's just looking at it, pissed. She was actually pissed off, and which means she was scared because her school, well, we work on is the horse dance. I'm still working on a perfect horse dance. And I'm like, oh, that's important, not. And I said, well, they're doing what you probably should be doing. And that was it. And I could not believe her disrespect that I can believe it because I break the mold. And especially in this school. And it's a huge, huge, huge school. And I just felt like maybe there's more people doing it now. I don't know. It's not I don't know. But it was just so goofy to me. And I kind of knew that was going to happen because we're doing something that the rest of the whole thing, or at least her school, is not doing. I'm like, well, what does it look like we're doing? We're applying as my wonderful Sifu said, you must be able to apply your art. And so we're applying the art. Wow. And anyways, so that was that was when I was leaving. I actually called the head grandmaster, and he told me there's something wrong with my school. When I said, this is what happened, and this is what's coming out of this one school. And I went, that's what's wrong with, and I was like, done. And I'm like, no disrespect, but I can't be a part of something telling me I'm the problem. And I'm like, I don't think so. And so I left, and that was the beginning of the end. And I spent my time there, and it was great. I love Charlie Fight, but you have to. There's more to it. It's a phenomenal system, and you have to do the application. You have to. I think in any system, you have to, or you're missing one of the 4 pillars. So anyways, so is it mush? So number 6, does your training prepare you for close quarter combat with or against a weapon? And I have a street life or death situation. I'm asking. So remember in the poacher guy, he said once a month we dust off the training knives or gun or whatever. I'm like, what? Yet in that school, he told me I couldn't use the term self-defense for what I was teaching, which was more FMA. And I'm like, what? Whatever. So that didn't last very long. Whatever. That's the way it goes. Trials and tribulations of trying to be an instructor. Number 7, Well, that's a big one. So does your training prepare you for close quarter combat with a weapon or against a weapon, with or against a weapon? Are you with a weapon? Do you have any idea? Or do you just think you are and you're really not? And I always say some unskilled person with a rusty knife dipped in squirrel poop, just make sure you get nice and sick, they don't even have to have skill. And I guarantee, someone whips out a knife or even a bar or anything that's a weapon, and you're in a different mind space. And you have to ask yourself, is this what I think I'm learning wherever I'm at? And is this what I want? Is this what I'm looking for? Then ask yourself, is this what I'm learning? Yes or no? Do I feel confident, or wait a second? And there's a guy who's on this journey, I think an Aikido guy, and he's become pretty big. I'm like, wow, he's got millions of people watching and blah, blah, blah. And I think he recognized that, what I'm doing isn't, well, he actually said it. I think, I recall that him saying that he was with some friends and then something was going to happen, or out, or drinking, or certain part of town, or I don't know what it was, but that he realized that he was not prepared, that he really didn't believe in what he was doing, or what he was doing wasn't enough for him to believe in. And so he's been on this martial art journey. So you might know who I'm talking about. I don't mention people, but you could probably find them. And so, so are you preparing? Are you being prepared? Well, it's really up to you. Are you preparing at the right place? Are you getting what you need to be getting? And so, it's a thought. Is your training completely unrealistic? Did I write this? To close quarter combat. Oh, but you stay committed anyways. Well, I wrote some potent stuff here. From convoluted, ridiculous disarms. Let's not get into that. Spinning weapons so you look cool. Pulling punches. I never forget that one. We pull our punches, but if we really ought to do it, we can punch through you and grab your heart. Never training against a moving target. And I call that activated moving target, so AMT. Training your body as a weapon or developing iron body. So, the Mokjong book. I've been pushing and pushing and pushing, and still am, and still will, and still always will push it. Anyway, so I'm asking, is your training completely unrealistic to close quarter combat? And what I say is rapid conflict resolution, but you stay committed anyways. Well, I'm just going to stay here, and I don't want to do that other stuff, or I love spinning weapons all day, and it looks cool, but it's ridiculous. Does your school ever talk about physics? So this is a big one. Geometry, psychology, awareness, just like the safety awareness thing, just to be aware. Don't have your head down in a phone all constantly. Situational life or death confrontations. So I do a whole thing on that just for the public, a public talk on that. But we're not really on the geometry. But physics and geometry are one of the 5 pieces of Black Dragon Modern Combat. And physics is one of the things that I kind of got mocked on by some chump about the bouncing and what it feels like to bounce. But that's a reality of striking and bouncing, and it's huge. It actually, I don't even know. Well, I mean, I think I was just being, just attacked, and that's fine. But of learning how to do the bounce, energy, and in the Filipino, it's called witik, where you're striking and pulling back. But you're not just pulling back; you're striking and letting it come back. And I call that in my night combat training, which is basically all weapons. It's one of the strike energies is called inzuba, which in Japanese means lightning. So it's like lightning where it touches and it comes back so fast. But it's not pulling it back. This is the difference. And that's why the Mokjong, you can strike and pull your hand back real fast and practice pulling back or whatever. Like you're hitting and pulling back, and like a jab. striking, pulling back. You don't leave a jab out there. But this is actually hitting something and the energy of it bringing it back. And that's what one of the things I call is bouncing. It's also the strike, lightning, or wittig, or many, you can give it any name you want. So, but it's actually hitting something and having that energy come back. And the reason I'm bringing that up, because that's physics. It's physics. You throw a ball against the wall, it comes back. And so that's really important, training that way. It's one of the trainings, not everything. So anyways, I think that is the end of this video. And I know I added a story or two in there that I was going to bring up later, but I think, well, you know what? I'm going to add one story at the end. This is a good one. So, and it's about the one if you're staying committed anyways, number 7. Because it's, okay, so I put up these flyers and actually got some people out of it. I was just teaching out of my garage. And I called that way back, okay, don't get mad, combat martial arts. This is like back in the 80s. And, because I did. And it was all about striking and hitting pads and bags. I had all kinds of stuff. And mokjong in my garage. It was actually just a pole. And so that was fun. And so someone contacted me who said, I'm in another school, but will you train me? I like what I'm reading. And I just thought, well, sure. I mean, it's not my business that you're in another school if you can keep it separate. And she said, oh yeah, no problem. And I really liked her. And when she first showed up, she's the opposite of the other girl, young lady. When she showed up, she said, can I sweep the floor, the dojo floor? I'm like, oh, yeah. And so she did that. But so I started teaching her, I said, well, show me what you do. And so here's one of the 4 pieces in the gap. And again, a lot of kata, maybe a little light sparring, don't hurt anybody. And so I was like, well, do you ever hit pads or this or that? No. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to. So I did the old hold the focus mid up, hit it, show me a punch or whatever you do. And I mean, it barely moved. And she's like almost afraid to strike it. I'm like, well, that's a problem, right? I mean, that's what you'll learn. It's a martial art, So is it martial or just art? And so I started showing her to use her waist and get into it, become aggressive, how to strike this pad, get some power out of it, what she's doing. And she came back. She was really happy with what we were doing. And she'd go to her school. She, it took probably maybe just 2 weeks of lessons. That was it. And I'll tell you why. So she said at the end of 2 weeks, she goes, I love what you're doing, what you're teaching me. I'm forever grateful. I'm like, oh, so you're leaving. And she said the other students, like, get this, the other students were noticing a big difference in me. And I'm like, oh, a good one? She goes, oh, really good. She goes, and the sensei. And I'm like, well, huh. So are you leaving the school? Are you coming? What are you doing? She goes, I have to not train with you. I went, what? She goes, I love my school. I love the socialness. I love the other students. And I love my sensei. I'm like, and that loyalty, I think, is admirable. I'm like, but you're not getting real, it didn't matter. She says, I have to leave because I'm actually becoming better and it's making me feel bad about being in the school. And I thought, wow, interesting psychology. So for her, it was social, and it was not wanting to hurt. I'm looking at a huge moth. If you're new here, we're in Albuquerque, and there's all kinds of new little bugs and stuff. In fact, I saw this incredible. It's called a. We looked it up. It looks like a leaf bug, but lesser angled wing katydid, Katydid. And it was the most beautiful thing. It looked like a praying mantis, and I thought, I'm gonna watch it move and see if I can get some ideas. But it wasn't. It was close enough. It was beautiful. So anyway, she left. And she's such a nice person and grateful, but adios. Because socialness was more important, and she loved her teacher and just being around him as a person or something. And I think she liked him. I think it was almost like more like a crush. And it's different strokes for different folks. But I thought that was really interesting that she was starting to look so different because of the specific training that she had to leave. I thought that was so interesting. The reason I'm writing that is because I reading one of the things here. I'm staying because I love my sensei, though I know I'm learning bullshit. And she said that. She says it's bullshit. After doing this, her mind split. She's like, this is a joke, but I'm gonna do it anyways. And it was one or the other. And so she left. So I thought that was really interesting. I know these videos are really long. I hope whoever watches it for more than a minute or two gets a lot out of it. I always say I do care because I really do care, and that's why I'm putting this out. And so for the few who make it to the end, for anybody who watches, thank you. If you make it to the end, and which is very respectful to me because I'm putting a lot out here, I thank you. And if you have any questions or comments or whatever, you know what to do. The next video for the 20 key principles of the Mukchang will be, like I said, I was going to take away the sticky and I'm going to put it back in there, do a little bit of it, and then talk about ambidextrous or mirror training. So that's going to be number 10, and I'm probably going to do it tomorrow because I'm only at number 10 and there's 20. So we need to get through these because I have a million other things I'm going to go over. Anyways, have a really nice evening. Take care of yourself. Train hard. Live light. Live lightly, but live powerfully. And be good to your family members. Be good to the people around you, please. And good karma will come back to you. Take care. Bye-bye.